I'm Edwin Warfield, the publisher of Citybiz. Evan, thanks for joining us today. This is a very unique interview because by day you work with one of Baltimore's most beloved organizations, the Baltimore Ravens, but you also have a very intriguing and unique pastime. Tell us about what you do for the Ravens.
Hey, Edwin. Well, thank you very much for having me here today. And for the Ravens, I'm head of cybersecurity. I've been there now for almost 6 years, and it's been such a crazy ride, especially now with Lamar Jackson here and, seeing how the organization works and working for one of the best companies here in Baltimore and just understanding and being able to protect them and just having such a fun time with such a great organization.
So yes, this is a very unique interview for me in that you are a relic hunter. I don't think I've interviewed any relic hunters. Tell us a little bit about this fascinating field and how long you've been doing it.
Well, relic hunting is as far as the term itself, it's very broad. I've been doing exploring and hunting for things lost from the past since I was a little kid. It started with me just going out into the woods and looking at abandoned buildings and old farm homesteads, and then I just kept that passion as I grew up. And since then, especially now, since with COVID, I've had more time to go out in the woods and explore and start collecting and doing more research and finding these homesteads that are still, lost out there in the woods, but all the property and the trash, or at least trash that they, would consider back then, now I would consider treasure, is still there. And so going out there, doing the research, finding these items and then collecting them is just such a really neat, hobby, I guess you could say of mine.
So I know some of your Baltimore discoveries include a flask from the 1880s and a very rare Carson and Shanks soda bottles from the 1880s and 90s. Tell us about those.
Well, the flask, which I have right here, is made here in Baltimore, Maryland, from Baltimore Glass Works. And we dug this out of a privy in Fells Point, which was really neat experience because these privies were everywhere, but a lot of them were cleaned out because Baltimore was one of the few cities in the United States at the time that was actually mandatory that the privies be cleaned out. So to find something like this still inside of it, over 100 and some odd years later, was really cool. And this flask right here was made as a commemorative piece when Baltimore had their one of the earlier fires in the 1800s that burned down the glass factory for Baltimore Glass Works. It has a phoenix on the back of it, which signifies rising from the ashes. And this company went on to produce even more significant pieces in a later period of time in the 1800s. And this is just one of the more beautiful pieces you can see just with like the coloring and the glassware, the design on it. As far as the soda, Carson and Shanks, it's rare just because a lot of soda bottles did not survive. They were thrown out real quickly, and it's very hard to find something like that. You don't see very many Cokes around the Baltimore area just because we have so many soda manufacturers. So you could find a ton of other more common sodas that are made here in Baltimore, but Carson and Shanks was a very short-lived manufacturer.
So I understand that you've donated much of your collection to the Baltimore Museum of Industry. Why is that important to you?
Growing up, I watched a lot of Indiana Jones. I watched it on repeat all the time. And one of his big sayings was, "This belongs in a museum." And I still believe in that today. So anything that I find that still has historical significance, I do donate. I reach out to the museum, and then I donate to them if they would like it. Some items that they already have, they're like, we don't need it. But if there's something that they do want, then I just give it to them without any questions. Because there's no reason for me just to keep it for myself. I'd rather share it with the world and preserve that history for future generations. And as a kid, I went to the Baltimore Museum of Industry all the time. And so it's like my favorite museum in Baltimore. So it's just like a way for me to give back, many years later.
So I understand that you've been approached about teaching workshops on relic hunting and teaching. Tell us about that.
Yes, I was approached to teach workshops and some other relic hunting related items through the Baltimore Enoch Pratt Library System and some other educational institutions around Baltimore to show other people that they can go outside and do hiking while cleaning up the environment and still use the resources from the library system or other areas around the city to look up the historical information and just be able to see what's hidden out there in the woods that, you probably drive by it every day. You just don't know about it. And this helps everyone else out because you get to clean up the environment, you get to collect some history, and you get outside. So it's a win-win for everyone.
So you recently went on this amazing trip to Chernobyl. Can you tell us about that trip?
It was an interesting experience. Back in 2011, before the whole TV show with HBO, I took my time, or I spent some time over there in the Ukraine to go explore the Chernobyl exclusion zone, just the Ukrainian portion, which is actually the smaller portion of the exclusion zone. The part in Belarus is much larger, and I'd love to go back one day to check out that. But to stick on the Ukrainian side, I got to go inside the power plants, the former ones, and then the ones that were under construction, along with exploring all the city of Pripyat and seeing the old hospital systems, the movie theaters, the other theaters that they have, the swimming pools, some of the more iconic areas like the amusement park as well. And seeing how what it was like when civilization just stops and ups and leaves, and how nature just takes over, it was really, really moving, and just sad to see like how something could be covered up and how much damage it did to the environment along with human life over that period of time.
So you sound like the Indiana Jones of Baltimore. This would sound like an appealing television show. Have you thought about documenting it for television?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of documenting myself with my YouTube channel and through Instagram. And I have been approached by a few production companies to potentially start developing or be casted in TV shows for the future, as far as like relic hunting or telling historical stories, kind of like Josh Gates does with his Expedition Unknown, but with my own little twist on it. So that would be my ultimate end goal one day. And, you know, it's just a matter of time, right?
So tell us a little bit about your Instagram.
My Instagram is Salvage Arc, ARC, and it's all one word. And it's where I show all the different pieces that I find while I'm out relic hunting. And I break down the story of the item itself. So not just what the item is or where it came from or anything like that, but an actual story that can be tied to it. Like one of the pieces I have right here is another soda bottle that I found from the 1880s. And while researching this one, I ended up finding out that there was a young black man that was executed in the early 1900s that was most likely killed for the wrong reason. He was innocent. And the more I read about his case and his story, it all just made no sense at all. So from there, I've decided to go ahead and start putting a request in through the city for his case files and see if we can maybe change history. I know it's too late in the grand scheme of things, but symbolically for his descendants and everything like that, I think it'd be a great, a great thing to do.
So, do you have a favorite relic that you found?
Oh, a favorite one? Yeah, it's actually one that I found last week. Sorry, it's one of two known. It's a Charles Kramer flask from Washington D.C. and it's super rare. When I uncovered it, I wasn't sure exactly. I didn't know that it was this rare. But when I got home, started doing the research and talked to some other explorers in the area that had never seen one, and the only other person that had seen one saw it many, many years ago. So it was a really cool item to find. So this is now my most prized possession that I have.
So how can people follow your progress as you discover Baltimore's underground?
The easiest way that you can follow me is either go through my website, salvagearc.com. And then from there, you can either follow my Instagram or my YouTube channel or my Facebook page. All three of them have links right there on the website. And then the Instagram has more of like the detailed posts about what the items are, the stories behind them. And then the YouTube channel has more of like the TV production stuff that's going to show like how I'm finding everything, the adventures out on the road, along with all the information of behind the scenes. So like taking this flask, for example, down to DC and taking it to the home of Charles Kramer and showing where it came from and the story of him.
Well, thank you for sharing your time, and happy hunting.
Well, thank you very much, Edwin, for having me today. It's been a pleasure talking with you.